Hello, and welcome to episode 12 of the Threatcast. Today's a good day, guys, isn't it?
Fantastic day.
Wow.
Oh, come on.
That was really enthusiastic.
It also...
Adam, you want to talk about something?
No, I'm fine. Certainly not swimming.
All right. Well, then what are we going to talk about today?
The School of Rock?
No, Adam, we're going to talk about Pokemon Go.
Oh, man, it's taken over the world.
Breaking news, journalism.
Adam, you told me you were going to catch them all. Did you do it?
No. I got
Jesus.
penicillin instead.
Did you play My Little Pony Go?
I did not.
Mark, how many Pikachus do you have?
I actually don't have any.
You're not going to be
Wow.
the very best.
No.
Yeah,
No,
no
I
one
guess
ever
I won't.
was. All right, so what we're actually talking about today is not Pokemon. Maybe next time when everyone gets hacked. But we're going to discuss cybersecurity training. So certifications, master's degrees, conferences, classes, whatever, education topics, our experiences with them, how we feel about them. Are they a waste of time, waste of money, necessary to stay relevant, helpful aid in increasing your brain things in cybersecurity? Is that a word?
Yeah, your brain thinks the great stuff.
Well, that's what we're talking about today, and I am excited. Everyone here has done at least one of these things, right? We were all in the SANS course, and we all have certifications, right?
I have zero. Oh, I have one.
Yeah,
I take it back.
too.
All right, there you go. Hey,
A blemished record.
That's enough. Hey, well, if you didn't have any, you get off the podcast because I don't want you here, but you do.
Oh.
And
But I have a fancy piece of paper that says I have a degree, too.
so let's start it off. But I think we're going to start off with a few stats. So I pulled up the cost for certifications, master's degree, and week-long training regards to cybersecurity. So let's look at a few. So the CISSP, a pretty big cybersecurity certification for general cybersecurity, I guess. $600. Take the test. Okay, $600. That's not counting the annual cost to keep the certification. That's not counting the time or money you have to spend to, keep the points up for education, right? The CEPs.
Isn't it CPE?
We'll get into that. Continuing education points. Pokemons. I don't know. I made that up. It's something like that, but you need to do it every year, right? You need to prove that you're staying with it. So the GCFE, it's a forensic certification from SANS. It's another $600 certification, but guys, it's $1,200 if you don't take the training course. How nice of them for chopping off $600, for not spending the $3,000 to take the course.
Yeah.
Security Plus, right? That's a pretty basic one, $300. All right, so like they're not cheap, right? You have to really try to. You have to try. You can't just go in and say I'm going to go waste $300, right? And it kind of sucks that they're so expensive, but we haven't even touched it, right? You got master's degrees. You got Carnegie Mellon. They have a master's in information security. It's $50K a year, right? You got University of Maryland. It's a little more affordable, but it's still several thousands of dollars a year. And what are you getting out of these things? So, like, I took a view at some of their courses, and like for University of Maryland, one of their courses, which I guess is probably a couple $1,000s after you take it, human aspects in cybersecurity, ethics, legal issues, and psychology.
That seems like a lot of things bundled in one course.
Sounds like the sociology professors needed something to teach.
Exactly. So it's like you're spending all this money, and it's the same thing with training. So week-long training, right? So SANS training, pretty big training programs. That's upwards of $3,000 to $5,000 for an entire just 1 week, right? So I want to go around the room. I'm going to start with Mark. What certification do you have, Mark? Or education?
Education, I currently have a bachelor's in computer forensics from Bloomsburg University. And certifications, I have the wonderful CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker.
Are you ethical?
Yeah, I'm not a hacker, but I'm ethical.
Let's talk about that certification. How has it benefited you?
Or has it not one bit, and I don't remember anything from the course or the test.
So here's the question, right? So certifications, we need to address this.
Okay.
The certification itself, in my opinion, the goal is it sets a standard of you being able to pass a test and you learn a passable amount of this content that they deem as necessary to do the job, right? And so in government, certifications definitely matter a lot more than in private industry. And as far as I can tell, the only certification that matters for the general population is the CISSP, and that will get you a white collar, probably a cube management job.
So when you say that's the only one that matters, why does it matter?
It matters because that is what recruiters know to look for, right? So the way recruiters work is they shoot through for Google search terms within Monster, whatever, Dice, whatever job search sites. And they say, well, requirements are you have to have a CISSP because then you are familiar with an IP and potentially even go as far as know what a hash is. But it weeds out all the kids that, have a history degree and decided that computers make more money.
I think to your question, Paul, I've heard it's a very difficult one to get to. So to kind of answer your question and go off of what Adam was saying, it is a fairly difficult one that needs a lot of studying, and not a lot of people have it unless they already have a background in the security.
Right. Yeah, and in order to get the CISSP, I think you need to be in the field for 5 years, or at least can prove that you have 5 years of quote-unquote experience doing information security or something. But I have it, and the knowledge I took from it is the very, very broad security concepts that have been around for 20, 25 years. So the CIA of information security, so confidentiality, availability, and great. I don't even know what the last one is. The I. All right. So there you go. I learned how to again, I think I told you guys before, but what fire extinguisher needs to be in a data center. So kind of like Mr. Manager-y stuff, but it encompasses so much stuff that it never gets to the part where I actually learned something of value. Because you're well, I need to know the entire alphabet, but I don't know why I need to know the entire alphabet.
Or how the alphabet's applied.
Exactly. So it's almost knowledge retention. That's a great idea for certification, and $600 on top of that. And in order to actually pass it, you need to study for at least 2 to 3 months religiously. I kind of didn't see the point halfway, but I had to go. But I would like to know if there's people listening to this that have it and actually got something from it. I don't care.
So I will argue that certifications make sense early in one's career, right?
Agreed,
so because it's either a barrier that you have to jump over, where if you don't have the experience, they don't know that you know things. So it could be the thing that separates you from every other kid that graduates an IT or CS degree. And then it also could, when you say, when have you used the certification? It's not designed, you can't turn it in, right? It's, you don't know what jobs you didn't get because you don't have it, and you don't know what doors were open to you because you do.
I think Paul, you and I are very fortunate having the actual bachelor's degree in forensics, where that was a small subset of security, but we knew we were taught a whole bunch of stuff about NCASE and FTK and different forensic tools and techniques that I think at least it helped me land a job and then learn more about everything else.
Right. So it was a very good foundation for cybersecurity, information security, right? And I'm not I guess I'm not disputing like that was worth the time, right? We learned a lot in that, especially really low level stuff that sometimes you don't even get the time to learn on the job. So it was really helpful. But like, if we jump into graduate degrees for cybersecurity, I really struggle to find a cost benefit, right? So you got Carnegie Mellon, who has a master's of science in information security. It's at least $50K a year. I mean, that's a reputation of the university there, costing a lot of money, and they have, they're not like the UMBC courses. They're a little bit more complex and useful, but like, who is the target there, right?
Oh,
so in order to actually,
I know the answer to this. I am the target.
You are. Why?
Yes. So when I emerged from a tiny community college tiny bachelor's college, liberal arts college in North Carolina, I was getting turned down for Java jobs. And because no one have heard of my university or college, whatever you want to call it. And I just wanted the first job. And that was impossible to find in my area of North Carolina. Throw your hands up.
Helicopter.
Like a helicopter. At or approaching a helicopter, really. And so I went straight into the master's just because it was that or find something not in the field. Mm-hmm. And that was the complete wrong move to make.
Why? Why was that?
So,
do you think if you would have left North Carolina, you would have had more opportunities?
Oh, most definitely. But that's terrifying.
But
yeah, no,
you're not even in there now.
Well, that's not the point. At the time, it was very scary. No, so I think that I didn't get the most out of my master's just because I went straight from school to school, and so I was in school mode of, I need to get this project done, I need to get this homework done without actually thinking about it. Mm-hmm. My master's also focused on the theoretical, right? So like it was a ton of different cryptology techniques and the theory behind it. And I've yet to see any job in industry that requires that outside of academia.
I mean, that's very specific, right? And you could use that knowledge, but like you're not looking for a specific job.
Well, and no job saying, give me 5 ways to get around man-in-the-middle attack, right? Tell me what Alice and Bob did. Right. And how their messages were intercepted. So it did land me a contracting position, so kudos on that one. But like that was $30K to get a job essentially.
So Adam, be real with me right now.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time with the knowledge you currently have, what would you do?
I would have gotten a job in a data center or doing desktop support instead of going to graduate school.
Would you go to graduate school eventually?
No.
What if the company was paying for it?
Yeah. Even then, it's not. At least the program that I was in, I can't speak to all programs, obviously. Nothing there could be applied to what I was doing. I think it makes a lot more sense. Like, we're going to get into the SAN stuff later. But I think that doing, like, spot checks, so if your job does require cryptography, totally makes sense to go take a class in it. But even then, everything's available on the internet. Like, you don't need to pass a test or get credit hours. And that's the most expensive way to do it. So, no, I wouldn't do it. And
but you wouldn't blame other people for doing it, though, right?
No, I think if you are just deeply interested in learning more and you learn everything you can on the internet, which, if you can, please contact us. We're hiring. If not, then just use the internet like everyone else. It's like going to school and learning Spanish, right? There's so many resources to learn Spanish. You don't need to go take classes and pass a class in it.
Yeah. Okay. So going back, I know certifications, they are kind of a requirement for a lot of positions, especially government positions. So I mean, I can't fault anyone for having to go and spend money or get sponsored to spend money on certifications, right? But I don't see the value, and I think we can all agree. We don't see the value in a lot of these certifications and master's degrees. It's just a really tough sell. Like if you're already in the field, right? If you're already in the field for information security, you either know a lot of these topics, or or you know where to find them. I guess the only way I could see is if like your employer pays, like you said, Mark. It's just I was looking into it like a year or two ago. Like, would I, I'm interested in a lot of stuff that I don't know about, and I had a really tough time saying no because I didn't want to spend the time like learning all of the things I already knew.
Yeah, I looked at
like a waste of money.
UMUC and stuff, but even online, it still just didn't make sense to me for how much I was paying for like 10 or 12 classes.
Yeah.
Well, and also, if I were to go back and do it again, and I was solid into doing it again, go that extra year, become a doctor. You can at least put it on business cards and such.
I don't want to write a thesis, though.
You could be that guy.
Dr. Adam Blake.
Also, for the wow, there we go. That's amateur to you. No, so for those of you who have all these certifications, please do us all a favor and do not include it in your signature of your emails.
And stop talking about them all the time.
No one is impressed.
So what do you think about them in LinkedIn and having it like all across your name, looking like a giant tool?
But like
across the name, no.
That's the target audience for LinkedIn, right?
But see, you could put it in like the descriptions of you have it for here, and I don't know. Oh.
So, Paul, you never asked me, but I care, so I'll share. I do have either 2 or 3 certifications. I cannot remember. All of them in Splunk.
Splunk certs. How have they helped you?
The certs they certainly help in job searching. Mm-hmm. I will tell you that. It tells you that, like, when you look at the average kid's resume and they have HTML and they have operating systems on their resume, no one's impressed.
Just reminded me of my old
But
resume.
if you... Oh, man. I know CSS and HTML and HTML5
Word,
and Java and Perl and Python. Do you know all 3 of these languages? Are you good enough to get a job in all 3 of these languages? No? Okay, so then say hello and goodbye in a language. Congratulations.
So what you're saying, Adam, is you having Splunk, and for the listener, Splunk is a tool used in information security or just analysis. Having like that specific certification for a specific tool, right? It stands out a little bit more than saying I have a certification in data analysis, whatever that may be.
Right. So I think the Splunk is valuable because it's in this one family of tools. I have enough familiarity and I care enough about it that I'm willing to go through to get this one tool. Makes a lot more sense than I have an approximate knowledge of many things.
So then you just need tons of certifications and tons of different tools. Does that sound like a good time?
If you're fighting for the middle, that is the way to go.
Yeah. So how much would that cert cost somebody if they wanted to go out and get it?
Oh, it's very expensive, unfortunately.
I think it was like $1,000 each.
So yeah, each class is like 500. I think
each class, right? And
it requires you to take the class. Because I know some, like when I took the CEH, it either required you to take the class or to basically do a write-up of what you've been doing for work and your education and how long you've been in the field and stuff. And they would waive the class for you.
Oh, see, so Splunk, it's essentially built to force companies to become partners with them.
Got it.
Yep.
And then if your company is a partner with Splunk, you get reduced or free training.
Now, do you think that this is how the certification game works? You just get money out of companies. You charge a lot of money because they'll pay for it, and no one's gonna go and get the CISSP themselves, are they? They're gonna get reimbursed by their company. Why not just jack the price up a little bit? Why not make that SANS course $5,000? Because a lot of companies have a $5,000 per year reimbursement.
That sounds like a reasonable business plan. You should start SANS 2.0.
That tinfoil doesn't even have to come on. That tinfoil hat. I don't need that.
But it's the same thing as like Black Hat, right?
Yeah.
We're like, you're walking in the door for 4 days, and then it's unquestionably a better conference in DEF CON 2 days later that is 1/8 the price, but it's a different audience.
Yeah. I'm not disparaging anyone from taking a master's degree, right? I think probably the best value is if you're coming out of school with like computer information systems or like an information security bachelor's degree and you're just coming out of it, it's probably a pretty good idea, if you have the money and time. I'm not saying you shouldn't go and get a master's degree. I think there's a lot of concepts in there that'll help you in the real world. I feel like if you're in information security, then you already know half of the concepts, and that's a waste of half of the money. Or if you're not in information security, you don't have the prerequisite knowledge to actually get into that program.
Right. So be successful in it.
Yeah, exactly. That would be worse. Ugh. So what would you guys like change about, say a master's degree or these certifications?
I think so. This is the hard part, right? I think you run into everyone's going to fight for people picking concentrations. So theoretically, if you wanted to be an ethical hacker, the CEH makes sense because, it's in the name. I think if you have $5,000 to spend every year, I would say pick something you like and go a mile deep in that one thing. Mm-hmm. I think a bachelor's degree in general education gets everybody, half an inch deep in all the subjects, and so when they come out, they're just as unqualified for every job they apply for.
Nice.
Pick one concentration and go for it.
So I'm going to argue against that, especially with the bachelor's, because that's exactly what we went through, mostly because it was only forensics.
Right.
It wasn't. That's no, but point, right? I mean, it wasn't a bunch of things that we took courses on. It was forensics we took courses on, and we took probably 5 or 6 of them. So it was one concentration for that, and then companies look for a single concentration, and then from there you can broaden your horizon on anything.
I mean, it wasn't inch deep in databases, inch deep in coding, right? So
yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, so we just got forensics the whole way, and a little bit of like mobile stuff.
Yeah, I took a skosh of everything, which is, I can say enough to sound dumb in a lot of different subjects.
Yeah, but like, you'd be good at parties, right? Good party talker?
Yeah, I just go up and talk about malware with girls. It's cool.
Yeah, little drive-by.
Little drive-by humor.
Pretty social.
Just some reverse engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't actually do reverse engineering. I just throw it into a tool, but then I can demean everyone around me, and it's awesome.
You want to see my Drydex?
No, this is awkward now.
Show me your Trojan.
Stop it. Let's talk about SANS.
All right, so we kind of covered this a little bit in the beginning, but SANS trainings. SANS are probably the most popular cybersecurity, information security training curriculum out there. They go around the world and have a bunch of teachers, a bunch of classes, a bunch of money, and a bunch of topics in cybersecurity. And you sit in there and you learn some things or not, and you are given the option to take one of their certifications. Like I said, if you take the class, you get a oh-so-nice discount on the certification. Still very expensive. If you don't take the class, you're paying full price, over $1,000, just for a certification. So, Mark, did you have a good time? You went to SANS. You did the SANS Forensics 408 class, which is the 508. Advanced.
Anyway, that doesn't matter.
You know what? It was the Advanced Cyber Forensics class.
Here's my take on it. I was psyched on it until I walked through the door.
Yeah.
And then I sat down and started listening to the curriculum and everything, and it just didn't flow well, in my opinion, and it was shotgunning a lot of things at everybody.
I mean, they had to, right? There was a lot of concepts.
Yeah, they did, but I felt it was also very tool dependent, and it was very heavy on certain companies' tools.
Oh, okay. So you thought they were pitching things.
And it was, I mean, especially because we got a free
thing
for something for 3 months that I probably threw away.
And Adam and I were in that class as well, and you are right, it was very tool heavy, and I wrote a quick article on it. You can find that article on ThreatFix.com. But what I agree with Mark. It was the tools were outdated.
Yeah, I think
like,
the concept behind the course
use.
and the idea of going I was pretty excited for, and anticipated, learning a whole bunch of stuff that I had not known, which I probably did learn a few things, but a lot of it just seemed very like either I've learned on the job already, so maybe it was my fault for going to a course that I might know things about already. I don't know. But it didn't seem like it flowed well. It rushed, and it seemed like everybody was on different levels inside the class.
So Adam, as someone who doesn't have a bachelor's in forensics, how did you feel in the class?
I mean, I walked into an advanced course knowing nothing other than Splunk and Insider Threat, right? Mm-hmm. So I followed the first 2 days and then lost interest and then tried to jump back in and then immediately lost interest again. I would argue that SANS classes, while are not the most efficient way of spending money, it's a week paid from work, right? Like,
what if you're paying for yourself?
Oh, then they're absolutely not worth the money.
Okay.
Under no circumstances is that worth the money.
Do you recall, Adam, like what parts kind of pushed you away during the course?
Yeah, it was. So they had exercises that were stupidly easy. Like I had no clue what was going on in the class, but I could do all the exercises because they walk you through it. But then there's like no lessons learned.
Yeah.
And then looking at the test had nothing to do with anything that happened in the class. It was all based off the book. And so you'd be best served, in my opinion, unless my superiors are calling me out on this, grab that book, hang out for a little bit, see if you like it. If you don't, find something to do in the city that SANS is holding. And
could use some money.
Yeah, go through the book, take that test, pass the test.
That's exactly what it's like. I mean, there were questions on there that just seemed absolutely ridiculous. Like, how would you do a hash of something, and what would this bit be, and what would it return, or something stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, I did. I studied quite a bit for it, and the actual exam. So this is the exam that you got a discount on for taking the course, right? The actual exam, I'd say it mirrored like maybe 40% of what we actually learned in the class. So there's a lot of stuff in the book that you end up just glossing over during the class, just because those are big books, right? They gave you 5 different books and an exercise book, and I agree with Adam that the exercises were literally just, this is the tool. Click here to do this, click here to do this, and then you're done. So it wasn't like click here to do this because it does this, right? You're not learning any concepts there. You're just learning how to click around like an interface or what to type in. And unless you put the time in yourself, which then what's the point of the class, right? You're not learning anything. And again, besides that, some of the tools are super old and super dated. Like one of them was using command line to pull out like clusters of data. There are free tools out there that do that with a nice GUI or automatically, right? You don't need to know what sector or whatever. And this is getting a little more advanced for some listeners, but like it was super technical for tools that came out maybe 15, 20 years ago that no one needs to know, and you don't learn the concepts or foundation behind them. So it's just a pointless waste of time for a lot of these tools. And like I hate feeling bad about it, because like you, Mark, I was really excited to go in and learn more, because during the job day, right, you sometimes don't get the chance to play with some of these tools or learn some of these new concepts. I just felt like they tried to dump so much into such little time, and I know a week is a long time, but like it just seemed like if they had just stretched it out, like cut out half the content and just expanded on that,
I feel like I can equate it to how I felt going to Black Hat last year. I was really psyched to go, and then, I mean, the talks were just, I felt terrible, and just, they weren't good content in the talks. The speakers generally weren't good public speakers, and it just felt like a circle jerk of a whole bunch of companies trying to get everyone's attention, and free t-shirts.
Well, I mean, yeah, Black Cat is recruiting and networking, right?
So it is, and Black Hat is a cybersecurity conference that happens every year, and jumping into that really quick, I agree with Mark. Some of the speakers that I went to, a lot of them were, that's not their job, right? They're not public speakers, but like I could not follow half of them, either because they were stuttering, losing their actual place in the conversation, or I think one of them, like, they got so nervous they had to like take off their clothes.
Oh yeah, that was yeah.
They started to sweat real hard, and like it got awkward. And then you couple that with people leaving in the middle of the conference, and then they get more awkward, more nervous, right? It's a recipe for a bad time. And again, there you go. It's like that's $3,500 to go there, and that's not even to travel there. It's a lot of money for this stuff, and I can't. I'm having trouble thinking of like one training, one conference, one thing that really stood out to me. I was like, that was totally worth the money. But
DEF CON is worth the money that you pay to go.
Yeah, but then you gotta wear a fedora.
No, you don't. You just have to tip your hat and smoke your robot phallus and smoke them and shoot them clouds.
So Paul, do you think your schooling was worth it?
Vape Niche. Yeah, like I said earlier, I think the school was a great foundation, and I think foundations are great, right? But I don't think certifications, I don't think the training, I don't think they really give great foundations. Now, the lower level SANS trainings, they might be great foundations, right? Or they might be a fire hose. I'm not entirely sure, but the one we took, which is the more advanced course, was just superfluous. It hurt my brain after a while.
Not good.
My done brain turned off.
I'm always going to fight for, like you guys with your bachelors, pick your niche and go for it, rather than general education.
That's tough though, because if you don't want to be in that field specifically, or there's not a lot of jobs for it, or you got to move somewhere, that might not help you out. You need to broaden yourself out and grow from there.
Yeah,
right?
But like forensics, right? There will be a job in any state you are in for forensics.
I agree with Adam though, because if you're generally good at forensics or you have a lot of education in it, speaking just for forensics, you can probably find a job in any state in some sort of SOC, Security Operations Center, because even the foundation of forensics is going to help you in the foundation of a SOC and doing different like network forensics, and from there you can start doing file analysis, and it gives you a good investigation aspect of it.
Well, and beyond that, like just looking at coding, right? I'm much more interested in a kid that's been doing Ada for 4 years than someone who's done Hello World in 8 different languages.
Right. Yep, I would agree there. So, Mark, last thoughts on all of this cybersecurity education. What do you think? Where should it go? Where is it now? What do you want?
I think kids now going through school should pick, one, I guess, kind of subject and try and stick with it. I mean, if there's a whole bunch of computer science people going through and they want to go through the certification route, I guess. I mean, I don't think somebody who already has a job and, say, a whole bunch of experience really needs to, unless their current job doesn't offer any of the other skills that they can learn.
Okay.
And it's
Adam,
way too expensive.
Nope. Yeah, it is expensive. Adam, you're up.
I would say that if it is your money, find what the niche you want to do by trying everything on the internet and YouTube videos. free things like ThreatFix.com can help guide you on whether you'd be interested in a subject or a subgenre or not, and then go a mile deep in that. If your employer is paying for it, find an event that is in a city that you want to be in and have fun.
Yeah, and I just want to say, you can listen to us complain about a lot of things or say a few things are good, but you know what? Do what makes you happy. Or if you've actually found value in this stuff, right? Feel free to let us know. Have you taken any certifications, training? Did you get a graduate degree? Have they helped you? Did you like taking them? Let us know. We want to hear. We want to hear some positive stories about these.
Or negative.
Or negative, yeah, actually.
We want everything.
I like
discriminate.
A little bit of drama. Adam will.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
All right, on to listeners' comments. You guys ready?
My body's ready.
Gross. In episode 11, we discussed a strategy Microsoft is utilizing to make passwords harder to crack. So that was the last episode. So someone commented, username Brony number 610-789-8564. His comment is, Paul brought this up for a second, but I'm curious why this is not in use. Phrase-based passwords. Currently having very secure access, I am mystified how I would just have to update a password every 90 days, and it can't be the last of my 4 million other passwords. Phrase-based would exponentially increase security and make rainbow tables obsolete, wouldn't it? So as a side note, the dual access, two-factor authentication is smart, but some organizations take forever to get me a text. Any thoughts on phrase-based passwords being a requirement? I mean, it's kind of tough to implement in a way, right? You have to understand. You have to kind of break apart phrases, right? You need to have a dictionary, and at that point, it's kind of like.
So, I think it will become more prevalent moving forward. I think we're in the awkward stage where half the workforce has always had a username password combination, and half of them know the first street they grew up on and their anniversary, and so that's their password for everything.
Yep.
As we move towards people remembering arbitrary numbers or phrases as passwords, I think phrases are fantastic, but I think we're still supporting the legacy people who, it's your mom's middle name and your street number, and that's their password for everything. And phrases, they would never remember that.
Now, Mark, I know you use a password manager,
yes,
right? Do you prefer that to passphrases?
Absolutely, because there's a lot less for me to remember.
Yeah, so a password manager, right? That gives you a giant string of random characters that you just copy and paste.
Yep.
What if you don't have the password manager, you don't have access to it?
A
passphrase would be good in that case.
What would I be logging into that I wouldn't have the internet for, though?
Well, your key store can get deleted, right?
It's not local on my machine, though.
Oh, mine is.
Well, it's LastPass that I use, so that's all web-based.
Well, all right then. You beat us this round.
So to actually go on your point, Paul, if I have my phone and I don't have internet, the passwords are saved locally on my handset. I have to authenticate with my phrase password or my fingerprint on my phone.
Got it. Okay. And the last point in Brony's comment is some organizations take forever to get him a text for two-factor authentication. I would say look to see if they support digital password
Google Authenticator,
right? So
that's one for two-factor.
Google Authenticator. If you can probably enter in some code to get it on there, so you don't need to get a text. Instead, you can just get a cycle on your phone, a cycle of codes on your phone, just regularly occurring. So. Next comment, final comment, is from Brendan. He has a general question. Adam, this is targeted at you.
Oh, boomers
coming at you.
Boomers coming at you. In order to find hidden data inside of a picture or audio file, for example, are there no modern DLPs, data loss prevention tools, that could detect it via discovery? How about it. Adam, can you extract files from within files? A little bit of steganography?
So...
Stegosaurus Adam.
I don't remember what the term is for stego hidden in a audio file. It might still be stego. But in short, there are things that can go through and identify patterns in a file. They can identify like a straight list, a white list that says, here's all the social security numbers that we know. If these characters appear in this order, in any file anywhere, then it will flag that. So that'd be something like Symantec Vonto, or I think they just changed it to DLP. I might be way behind on that one. But there's email readers that would do that if you sent it over that line. For proxy, probably not. I'm not familiar with the tool that will go through all the pictures and look for it.
That's too much bandwidth.
Yeah. And then you also run into like the terminology of something interesting or something bad. As soon as we can identify that within text, maybe one day we could do it in pictures, but you still, for a vast majority of tools, you need to be able to know what you're looking for or know a pattern of what you're looking for. So like a simple cipher beats a vast majority of DLP tools. So if you go through and say, here's my... this is a tip for all you gray or black hat hackers out there and want to beat your local insider threat program. Go through and do simple substitutions. And so change your 4s to @ and your 0s to the letter O. Even something as simple as that breaks a vast majority of content sniffers on endpoints.
So Adam, what you're saying is no.
That's correct. Yeah, no, that was an extremely long, bloviated way of saying no.
Too difficult, right? There's too many pieces that have to be in place for that to be actually detectable. And if someone is actually trying to hide data inside of other data, they're probably taking that just a little bit of extra step to just completely avoid any type of detection.
Well, and if you think of it as a speed bump, right? So yep. I'm going to hold your email for a millisecond, run through it, and then large organizations have millions of emails sent every hour. How long am I willing to hold your email before it goes out or comes in? Before people start getting real angry that their email's slow.
And you can't have that, right?
You cannot have that. That's when the sea level comes down and brings the ban hammer.
Yep. Security comes after availability.
That's correct.
So, any final comments, people, on SANS, on training, on anything that we talked about?
Don't waste your own money, waste your employers.
That's right.
Or just walk into a SANS class and just act like you belong.
Totally
there.
could have done that.
Totally.
We could have just walked right in there and just sat down and no one would have batted an eye.
So you're not wrong on that. I just realized that they had, for the one we had, it was a name tag and there was a Kinko's on the way to the class.
Yeah, because you just made your own name tag.
Easily. Working the system, making the system work for you.
And with that, and the comments out of the way, it's going to wrap up episode 12. Next week, we plan on diving into the world of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Dogcoin and Catcoin.
I believe it's Doge.
Yeah.
Get off the podcast. Get off. Just get off.
Sorry. My bad.
I didn't want to say that. But we'll discuss what they are, their recent struggle, where they might be heading, or it might be jumping into something else. I don't know. It's going to be a surprise, guys. If you stick in, you might get something Catcoin. Until next time, this is Paul, Mark, and Adam. I love you. Bye-bye.
I'm still doing swimmingly, by the way.
No, I already said that. You can't take it.
I didn't ask.